I'm doing this screen recording for my second project on Udacity, operationalizing ML model in Azure. So the main highlights on this project was to deploy and consume the model, Swagger documentation, create and consume pipeline. So we are doing this by setting up the AutoML. So the first step here is to upload the data set, and then we're using the bank marketing data set, the campaign marketing. I believe it's the same data set that we used in our first project. So we can take a pic of this data by clicking explore here. So what are the columns? These are all the columns of the data sets that we have. And then if we scroll all the way to the right, this is the our output column where we are predicting yes or no as a binary classification tags. So the next step after that is picking up the setting up the AutoML model. So this is already, the model is already ran, setting up the experiment, so you can see it is completed. And then if you go on model, so it ranks the models based on the score. So the highest one here is voting ensemble with the accuracy of 0.92. And then this is the model I picked to deploy. So if I go here, it is already deployed. So if I go on the endpoints, obviously the model will show up in the endpoint list. And then like if I can go here, so this is the model that was deployed. And then it will show up here with the various important configurations like REST endpoint API, Swagger URI. And then one important thing to mention is this model was deployed by using Azure container instance, and by default the key is disabled there. So during the deployment you enable the key for security purpose. And then another thing to notice would be the application insights, right? So that was also set to false by default, but later I set it to like true by using the logs.py file that is also in the same folder. You can use a service.update, enable the app insights equals to. That's one of the exercise in our lab as well. So what it does is it enables the app insights. That way we can monitor the logs, so for any kinds of like errors or troubleshooting. And then after the model is deployed, we want to see the next step is just the Swagger documentation setup. The Swagger UI is allows us to visualize. Let's go to that. It's running in the Chrome. So it allows us to visualize and in visualize our model via REST API, right? So this is the automatically generated after deployment. So the URL we saw before, if you click there, it will get it here. So it kind of like gives whether our service is running and healthy, and how our the input payload looks like. This all the variables the model will take as an input, and then what it outputs, the response will be in the JSON, like the string. So so this is pretty useful to create the UI visualization for documentation, right? So let's go to the next step, which is consuming the model, right? So the endpoints.py file that can be ran in the terminal, so to consume the endpoint. So this one is, so it's running on the back end, or the model is already running in the back end. So when I run this, it will send me the two results, right? So this in the JSON format. So there's two data instances being passed, and then the next step here is to do the pipeline. And here this is the notebooks that kind of like uses Azure SDK to create all the pipelines. And then this is how the pipeline looks like. This is completed here once you go on experiment, and then if I go in the pipeline itself, it shows the pipeline is active, right? So that's the task I completed for this lab. Thank you.